2. It is 6 o'clock on the East Coast. Welcome to Frontline. I'm Carl Higbie in front of the federal building in Minneapolis, Minnesota, where they just took those 3 people to arrest them today for barging into the church for their conspiracy against rights. This is actually an incredible experience. We did all this stuff. We're going to be doing our show right here from Minneapolis today. Check this out. We're in a van where there's a total studio. We're going to bring you everything from here. I got some other stuff on this hearing today from the House. But first, let's check out an exclusive sit-down I had with J.D. Vance probably about 3 hours ago. Let's check it out.
Well, Mr. Vice President, appreciate you taking the time very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Obviously, you've given your remarks a little bit earlier, but I've never seen any protests like this. We've just had charges announced on Armstrong, Allen, and Will Kelly. What do you make of this whole situation?
Well, first of all, if you interrupt a church service, you ought to get arrested, you ought to go to prison. And I think we wanted to send a very clear signal at the Department of Justice that you cannot interrupt people's rightful worship without expecting there to be any consequences. In the same token, you can't assault a law enforcement officer without expecting to get arrested either. So the Department of Justice, I think, has been on the case here in Minneapolis, where we actually, this really started as an anti-fraud operation. I think a lot of folks in the Democratic Party decided they didn't want to talk about fraud from Somalians. They wanted to talk about the brutality of immigration enforcement, as they call it. And so what you've seen a lot is this sort of viral effort to try to inflate what's actually going on, to overstate the wrongs that have been committed and understate the very serious problems that we have with immigration enforcement in this country for a long time. And they're just trying to distract. They think that if they can turn ICE into this evil monster, it will distract from the fraud and it will distract from the Biden open border. And we're just not going to let it. We are not going to let that happen.
Yeah, well, you know, this is another thing, too. You were actually the one to announce the Assistant Attorney General now going to be looking into these types of cases. How many more of these do you think we're going to see? We can hear the protesters outside. Yeah. How many more of these do you think you're going to see nationwide?
How many more arrests do we think we're going to see nationwide? I mean, look, I think we have a fraud problem that is much worse in California than it is in Minnesota. I was talking actually to our small business administrator. I think she's found probably $500 million of fraud in Minneapolis and the broader Minnesota area. I think she's found $7 billion worth of fraud in California. So this is unfortunately a problem that is much bigger than Minnesota. But it's also, it highlights how absurd this effort to prevent the immigration enforcement is. If you look at blue states, blue cities, you look at Memphis, Tennessee, not a Republican mayor. You look at red states like Texas, but blue cities like Austin. You do not see this level of chaos over the enforcement of our immigration laws. What you have is a small band of very far left people who are doing everything that they can, up to and including assaulting law enforcement officers and raiding churches, to try to make ICE out to be the ultimate enemy and to kind of engage in this weird small-scale civil war against federal immigration law. It's absurd. It's added a lot of chaos here in Minneapolis, and it's one of the problems why I'm here to fix it.
Yeah, well, sir, the other thing, too, is we can cut all these programs under this administration we want, but if Congress doesn't stop allocating the money, the next administration, if a Democrat takes it, they could just reinstitute it. Are there any steps in place to make sure that it can't be reallocated to these things that were historically fraudulent?
There absolutely are, but it does require Congress. And this is one of the things where, you know, we've been very effective, for example, at DOJ, at cutting out a lot of fraudulent money that went to various places. We've been identifying a lot of fraud. But if the money is still appropriated, you're exactly right, the next Democratic administration could come in and actually re-implement and reinstitute a lot of that fraud. I hate to say it, but we need some more good Republicans in Congress to fix that problem. Our margins are so small, we could probably get some very good legislation out of the House. I think in the Senate, where you might need 60 votes, it's going to be very hard to imagine 7 Democrats joining with our anti-fraud efforts. That's a horrible indictment of the Democratic Party, but we're going to do as much as we can at the administration level, at least to show the American people, like, this is what it would look like if you had an administration that was committed to protecting your tax dollars as much as the Biden administration was committed to protecting illegal aliens. We hope that that will actually serve as a good reminder for why the American people should keep on giving us more ability to make these anti-fraud efforts more than just a 4-year thing.
Right. Well, also, as the president of the Senate, you know, obviously President Trump's talked about potentially getting rid of the filibuster. There's a number of Republicans that are warming up to it. I know I, for one, am flipped on it. I'm like, yeah, do it. Pull the trigger.
We should.
What do you think we should?
Yeah, we absolutely should, because, look, the Democrats are going to do it the next time they get in power. If you go back to when Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin, two people I really like, by the way, who I served with in the United States Senate, they were run out of Washington, D.C. by the Democratic Party. Why? Because they refused to blow up the filibuster. Now, why did Democrats want to blow up the filibuster? They wanted to add Puerto Rico as a state. They wanted to give the Democrats permanent control of the United States Senate, and they wanted to pack the United States Supreme Court. So we know that that's what Democrats want to do. We, unfortunately, only have 40 or so Republicans in the United States Senate who would support our effort to pass, let's say, common sense election integrity or common sense anti-fraud laws. So you do have 8 or 9 Republicans who are part of the old guard. But here's the reason why I don't get too depressed about this, man. As much as it frustrates me, because I want Republicans in Congress to do more to support the president's agenda, the simple fact is, if you go back 5 years ago, there were probably 25 GOP senators who would have supported our agenda. The fact that we're now at 40, the fact that we continue to make good progress in building a greater Republican Party, look, Rome wasn't built in a day, but I think we're making really good progress.
No, they didn't have unions either, so a little bit faster, and the roads are still in good shape. Let's get to Greenland. You were recently in Greenland a couple of months ago. Real cold.
Here in Minneapolis, I feel like I'm in Greenland.
Yeah, exactly. Less mountains here, but yeah, no, it is cold. President Trump's making progress. Look, I applaud the fact that this is actually even going forward at all, to the extent that it is. What is your end result that you envision as a perfect deal for this, and how close are we to that?
That's a good question. I think the president is working out the details, so I don't want to prejudge exactly what those details will ultimately look like. But at a high level, number one, we want to share in the wealth of this beautiful landmass with a lot of minerals and a lot of resources that fundamentally we're protecting. Americans may not appreciate that, but it is the threat of American power that keeps Greenland safe. Everybody knows that China and Russia have national security interests there. Everybody knows they would love to take it if they could. So what keeps Russia or China from invading Greenland? Is it the power of Denmark? As much as I love Denmark, no. It's the power of the United States of America. So the fact that we're implicitly protecting it means that we should share in the prosperity of it. It also, and this is the most important part, man, it matters for national security. If you ask yourself, what happens if, God forbid, some foreign country launches an ICBM to the United States of America? Our entire missile defense system could be destabilized if you don't control the Arctic. That means Americans are less safe, and that, again, is why we have this implicit protection over Greenland. It's absurd that it's taken people so long to realize that obvious fact.
Well, actually, my favorite spectator sport was watching you go to the same globalist a little less than a year ago. I mean, scorched earth, sir. It was quite awesome to watch. But a lot of those people now are saying they're not going to work with him. But NATO is the ones that say, hey, we have a framework for this, but you still have people like France and Germany that are unequivocally no's on this type of stuff. What do you say to them?
You know, they're unequivocally no's in public, but are they actually unequivocally no's in private? Absolutely not. And I found this a lot with European leaders, where I don't know if it's politics, but they almost feel like they have to puff up their chest and posture symbolically in front of the President of the United States. We will not spend 3% of GDP on defense. And now, of course, they're all spending 5% of GDP on defense. A lot of this is just politicians playing politician games. What I love about the president is he kind of ignores that. He just goes on and goes about his business for the American people. I think we're going to be able to find an accommodation with Europe. It's one of the big things that people don't understand about this administration. They think that the president, or they think that they think Marco Rubio, that we hate Europe or have some problem with Europe. We don't. We love Europe. Why do we want Europe to control its borders? Because we love European civilization. We want it to preserve itself. Why do we care about economic growth? Because they're one of our most important allies in the world. We share a common civilizational heritage. You can't drive your economy off a cliff. Why do we care about NATO? Because we want Europe to be able to defend itself if, God forbid, they were invaded. We actually love Europe. We love Europe so much we're actually demanding that they do what their own leadership refuses to do, which is look after themselves and be smarter.
But they've essentially cannibalized their own population by, allowing mass migration, huge social programs to burden the people who do pay taxes. Their farmers are going out of business. They can barely feed themselves.
Yep.
But that is the basis for the, it's almost like I rope the EU and NATO side all into one over there. Is it time to reconsider our membership in NATO now, especially if they continue to fight us on Greenland.
Well, what the president said is that he wants NATO to be stronger, but he wants it to be self-sufficient. He doesn't want NATO to basically be an American security umbrella where our troops have to go over there to fight to defend Europe. He wants Europe to be self-sufficient, and I think that's the right model. But you're exactly right. Europe has absolutely gone down this path. Luckily, it's not there yet. But they've gone down this path of civilizational suicide. I mean, if you look at just electricity prices, this is why the president always criticizes windmills and some of these more fake forms of energy. In the United Kingdom today, our oldest ally, obviously the country that we came from as the United States of America, the average UK citizen pays 4 times for electricity, 4 times for power what we do here in the United States of America. That is purely bad policy. They've got plenty of energy, but they don't have the smart policies like we do in the Trump administration. You cannot survive as a civilization if in the name of green energy fanaticism, you are making your own citizens pay way too much for power. You can't survive as a population if you're doing third world mass migration that destabilizes your own country and makes it less safe. We're just trying to get back to some common sense policies because, look, if Europe goes down, it'll be bad for America. So we're going to look after our own country. We're going to protect our own borders. We're going to encourage our European friends to do the same.
Yeah, I would encourage them to be a little bit more like us, like the president did yesterday. Let's talk about the Board of Peace.
Trump was right about everything. They should just get the hat and remember it.
Exactly. I mean, everything's simple. I always say there's plenty of room on the Trump train. Just come on, guys. But you got these people out here screaming. By the way, if you were to walk out there right now and talk to some of these people screaming, if you're
I think the Secret Service would love that.
Yeah. What would you say to them?
Well, I'd ask them, why are they here? Like, what do you really, that is the one thing I have to say. I don't admire them for anything except for this. It is really cold outside. And, you know, we in the Trump administrations want to deport criminal aliens who are sex offenders. It takes a certain level of commitment to sex offender criminal aliens to stand outside in negative 40-degree temperatures and attack the Vice President of the United States. But, man, they are committed to the bit. But fundamentally, they have lied about our ICE stations. They've lied about our immigration enforcement operations. And I'm just curious, why are they actually here? I think that if you talk to them, what you'd realize is that most of them don't actually know. Most of them have been fed a bunch of lies. And most of them fundamentally are people who think, if you really drill down to the root of it, they think that all immigration enforcement is illegal and immoral. We don't.
Yeah, it's shocker, like these things called laws.
Yes.
I want to get Iran. We just started sending a carrier battle group that direction. Where do you see that going?
Well, obviously, the president has a lot of cards he can play. I'm not going to reveal exactly how he's going to play them. But look, I think we just want to make sure that we have options. We have a lot of forces in the region. We have people who could be endangered, part of our entire alliance structure over there where, you know, Saudi Arabia and these other countries invest a lot in the United States of America. We got to make sure, of course, that we have people over there to protect our assets that are in these parts of the world. And I think the president just wanted to make sure that if, God forbid, the Iranians did something very stupid, that we had the resources necessary to respond to it.
Yeah. Every straw poll has had you ahead by margins for 2028. All right. I know you don't want to take away from the president's current agenda, but what do you think?
Well, look, I think that people, to the extent that that's going well, or, you know, I don't see some of these polls, but if you're right, I think it's because people are happy with President Trump's agenda. Yeah. And my attitude on this is whether I run or somebody else runs, if we take care of business, the politics will take care of itself. And I never wanted to get in this job, and so far I've done a very good job at this. I've never a year into this once let some future possible job affect the job that I'm doing. I'm loyal to the president. I'm loyal to the agenda. And if we do great things for the country for the next 3 years, I don't worry about the politics. It'll worry about itself.
Yeah. You know, I got to say, the memes, the fact that you embrace the memes, that maybe possibly, too, the other memes for Secretary Marco Rubio may be the new nanny for the congratulations, yes, by the way.
That's right. Thank you. We're very excited. Marco's going to be the highest priced nanny that we've ever had, but great.
Yeah, between being DNI and Secretary of State.
You know, what's another job when you've already got 4?
It's fine. So, but no, seriously, congratulations on that. I'd be remiss. My wife would kill me if I didn't congratulate you.
Well, I really appreciate that. We love kids. We love babies. And, you know, it was this interesting conversation Usha and I have been having, which is, do we want to have a 4th kid? And my answer to that was yes. Her answer was maybe. But eventually, as Jeff Goldblum says in Jurassic Park, life finds a way. So here we are, baby number 4 on the way.
And he also said must go faster, so maybe we can get some of these deportations headed up with that.
Well, that's exactly right. We do want to ramp up the deportations, but you know, we inherited an ICE that was totally destroyed by the Biden administration. Many of the people that we hired because of the big, beautiful bill haven't even started yet. Some of them haven't even started training yet. So ramping that agency back up, it's very important to us, but it's going to take a little bit of time. I will say 2.5 million in the very first year, 2.5 million fewer illegal aliens in this country. It's a lot of success to hang our hat on, but as President Trump always says, go faster, we need to do more.
Yeah, and lastly, you know, on behalf of, I'm obviously an enlisted guy, you're a fellow enlisted, not of a lot of enlisted guys in higher office. We just wanted to say, you know, thank you for what you've been doing. It's a great perspective that we see coming from you, sir.
I appreciate it. It's good to have a member of the E4 Mafia and as close to the Oval Office as possible. I joked once to the Commandant of the Marine Corps that the reason I really wanted to run for Vice President is because I really wanted the Commandant to have to salute a corporal, and here we are.
Sir,
Thanks,
thank
man.
you very much.
Good to see you.
Appreciate it.
All right. Well, he was talking about it. Folks, it really is -42 real feel outside. If you saw me getting into the van, it's that cold out there right now. And the protesters still doing their thing, rotating in and out of cars. But thanks, Vice President Vance, for that. We really appreciate it. Coming up, Derange, Special Counsel Jack Smith on the Hill today, desperately defending his witch hunt prosecutions against President Trump. We're going to be breaking down the hearing with Congressman James Comer in just a bit. But first, crazy folks, Chief Border Patrol Agent Greg Bovino and his agents working literally round the clock to keep these Minnesota protesters in check and all the illegals that they're trying to get in the meantime. I got to catch up with him today. You're not going to want to miss this in a sec.
Will you be able to afford your golden years? Do you worry how you'll make ends meet? You may be leaving up to $100,000 unclaimed. You need this special report. How to boost your Social Security and retirement by at least $100,000 or more. Get your free copy today. You've earned the benefits. Take advantage now. See our special offer to claim your free report. Call or go online today.
Since the founding of America 250 years ago, many things have changed. The homes in which we live, the clothes we wear, the jobs we hold, the conveniences we enjoy. But some things never change. The commitment of husband and wife, the importance of passing along our values to our children, the rewards of service to community and country, the faithfulness of God. Some wonder how America has thrived for so long and how we can ensure she continues to. As long as we keep first things first, we've only just begun. America, the beautiful.
Don't kibble your dog.
Oh, hey, Dr. Marty.
Hey, back.
But what's wrong with this? It's premium stuff.
Let's check it out. It's still kibble, which means it's ultra-processed at extremely high temperatures that destroy the nutrients in the food. But at Dr. Marty, we gently freeze-dried premium meats, fruit, and vegetables, locking in their nutrients.
Never kibbled.
You got it, kid, and they're gonna love it.
All right, I caught up with Chief of Patrol for, obviously, CBP, Greg Bovino, earlier today, where he reiterated that ICE, it's not leaving Minnesota anytime until the mission is completely done. Here, watch.
So I'm standing here with Commander-at-Large of U.S. Customs and Border Patrol, Greg Bovino, here in Minnesota, Minneapolis, heart and center of what's going on. We just got done hearing the Vice President give some remarks a little while ago. Have you ever anticipated, have you ever seen anything like what the resistance that you're seeing from, local protesters here?
Sure, Carl, we've been in many cities, Los Angeles, Chicago, New Orleans, Charlotte, and I will say that the resistance here is more organized than anywhere we've been. The organization, from those rioters, those agitators, those anarchists is quite substantial. Now, I don't think they're quite as tough as they are in, say, Chicago or maybe even Charlotte, but their organization is very, very well.
One of the big things, too, is this administration has started to look into the funding that's happening. You see these Greyhound buses and large-scale operations, people rotating even on the protest, 15 minutes outside, 15 minutes on the bus to warm up because it's tonight 2 degrees. Have there been any success that you know of finding out who's funding it and where?
Sure. I was talking to some of our law enforcement partners today that are in charge of what you're talking about, looking at those groups and how those groups are being funded. They tell me they're making great strides, some pretty significant strides in identifying that conspiracy, identifying those groups, and they expect to make arrests.
Yeah. As these things go down, how many arrests are you up to now?
We're well over 3,000 just in the month that we've been here. That's Border Patrol and ICE. And then ICE was here, as you know, several months prior. There are over 10,000 total apps for the entire operation that they've been here.
Well, and you see people like Tim Waltz, the governor here, Ilhan Omar. They just put out a story a few hours ago this morning about ICE kidnapping a young child and taking him away from his parents. And we find out that his father actually abandoned him, and ICE was caring for the kid.
Sure. Carl, they will put a lie out, Mr. Waltz or Governor Fry, they will put a lie out before ever knowing the truth. Carl, I don't think they even care really what the truth is, as long as they can vilify law enforcement, as long as they can heat up that rhetoric. I do believe they want to heat up that rhetoric and make our jobs infinitely harder to do out on the streets, and that's what they're trying to do now. Our Title 8 mission will go unabated, no doubt, but why should we even have to worry about lies spouted by a governor or a mayor who don't even know what the situation is?
Well, the mayor actually has had plenty of time to deal with this. The governor has had plenty of time to deal with this. It doesn't seem like any of them have lifted a finger. Have they ever, at any point during this, made a good faith effort to reach out to you and say, hey, let's work together on this?
Yeah, we've not one time. Not one time. Instead, you have Mayor Fry calling for his police department to actively try and disrupt law enforcement in the streets. It's the opposite. You would think they would come and give a good overture or want to work with us, because that's what we want to do, but we've not seen any of that whatsoever.
So 3 arrests have been made so far related to the church, I'll call it an invasion. They've now been put in handcuffs, perp walked, and they're going to be charged with something, a conspiracy against rights. These arrests, do you feel like more of these are going to be coming?
I believe so. Our partners there at Department of Justice and Department of Homeland Security, they're doing a great job in investigating that. They're getting to the bottom of who was involved, what exactly they did, so it would not surprise me if there are more arrests for that.
And the other thing, too, is you've had a judge side against you. That was overturned. The judge basically said, you can't do anything on crowd mitigation. Your hands are completely tied. You can't shoot any tear gas, and you can't push people out of the way. You basically have to just sit there and take it. A judge overturned that. Have you been back to regular operations at this point?
We are back to regular operations. Carl, we never suspended our operations based on what that judge said, because we're legal, ethical, and moral in everything that we do, including the deployment of less lethal munitions. We've got very strict guidelines and standards and training that we go by, and as long as we go by those standards and the law, I think we were good anyway. Now, as you said, the law has been the judge's ruling was overturned. That's fantastic news for us, because it's just it makes for a much safer operating environment for our agents and officers out there.
Yeah, and we were just talking before about, unfortunately, I'm looking at your officers having to cover their faces. I mean, when in America have law enforcement had to cover their faces from fear of being doxxed?
Yeah, I've been doing this for 3 decades now, and this is the first time, this Operation at Large, is the first time I've ever seen or even thought that a law enforcement officer would have to cover their face because they or their families might be attacked at a later time.
Yeah. Do you know if any of their families have experienced protesting to their houses or anything like that?
Absolutely. There have been many agents, once they are doxxed, that do have to contend with threats to their family, protests at or near residences and things like that. So it only takes minutes. It only takes minutes once they know who these agents are. Very scary situation.
Yeah, it's unfortunate. no end in sight, apparently, according to the Trump administration, said we're not going anywhere, we're not standing down, we're not stopping. How much longer do you think you might need here in Minneapolis to accomplish your goals?
We're apprehending dozens, if not hundreds, of criminal aliens every day here in Minneapolis and across Minnesota. So, Carl, we're going to be here till that mission's accomplished. Yeah. If there are those criminal aliens, as child rapists, murderers, you name it, terrorists, if they're out walking the streets, then we've got a job to do, we've got a mission to do, and we're going to be here till that mission's complete.
Target-rich environment. Sir, thank you very much.
Thank you. Nice to meet you.
Yeah, and off camera, too. I asked him, I said, why don't you just spray some hoses around here? These people turn into icicles. He said, it's too cold for water hoses. Can you imagine that? Coming up, I joined on the streets of Minneapolis by one of the good guys on the block, independent journalist. You've seen him here. Cam Higbie is going to be live right outside this van in front of the federal building with me next.
And the teachers' unions are in the business of indoctrination.
It's a cultural Marxist war for power in America, and your children are the key. Find out how radical ideology is taking over businesses, media, and even our schools. Watch Newsfront, Marxism in America.
It's not just your hearing. For us, it's your life. That's why we created the Miracle Ear Way, offering unlimited care, including risk-free trials and free servicing to keep you connected with your loved ones at all times. Call 1-800-503-7789.
Mom jeans. She passed them down to you. But who passed them to her? Good question. You can thank generations of amazing women for those genes. Discover their lives and what led to you with an Ancestry Family History membership. See your roots and where those stories came from with an Ancestry DNA kit. Put them together, and there you are. Get started today at Ancestry.
Hi, I'm Ben Cozy. Isn't traveling a pain in the neck? You're cramped, uncomfortable, and forget about getting any rest. There's nothing cozy about airplane seats or hard plastic benches, and those so-called travel pillows, they just don't cut it. You don't need another travel pillow. You need Be Cozy, the world's most comfortable neck pillow. Trapped in the middle seat? Wrap Be Cozy around your neck to stop chin drop, bobblehead napping. Smashed up against the window? Fold Be Cozy over and tuck it onto your shoulder for super side support. Frequent flyer miles got you sitting aisle? Turn Be Cozy to the side for the perfect pillow position. Everyone wants to be cozy, so get the world's most comfortable travel neck pillow and be cozy just like me, Ben Cozy. You get to be cozy. Everyone gets a Be Cozy. Only Be Cozy has patented overlapping arms so you get double support and the comfort you need in any seat on any trip. Go online right now and get this exclusive TV offer. Buy one Be Cozy, get one 50% off. Get yours now.
No way this all fits.
Watch me.
Oh, we're watching, Gary. They're right. We need weather tech.
I thought they only make floor liners.
Really, Gary? Really, Gary? Who do you think made the seat protector, side window deflectors, no drill mud flaps?
And the cup foam.
And I just ordered WeatherTech's newest products. Ta-da!
Hitch Basket makes for easy loading of heavy and bulky gear and increased storage capacity with a roof basket up top.
WeatherTech for the win.
Buy American at WT.com.
Joining us is Dr. Drew from the Wellness Company with advice for dealing with seasonal colds and flu. Doctor?
Cold and flu season is here, and every year you or a loved one gets sick. Your doctor can't see you. Waiting in a crowded urgent care is brutal. This is a particularly bad cold and flu season, and it's why doctors suggest every family needs an emergency medical kit. Your medical emergency kit is filled with essential prescriptions. It includes antibiotics like generic Z-Pak to get well faster, amoxicillin for pneumonia, strep throat, ear infections, plus prescriptions for nausea and UTIs, and even ivermectin. It's easy. Just match your symptoms to the prescription in your guidebook or call the telemedicine doctor standing by. Take your medication early and feel better faster. Having a medical emergency kit is like having an urgent care in your home. No waiting to see a doctor, no lines at the pharmacy.
Smart advice. We've shared the website and discount code below to save viewers $45. Order now and your kit will be rushed to your door. Thank you, doctor.
Yo, it is so cold out here. It is negative 42 real feel. I'm out here in front of the federal building in Minneapolis outside of my warmer van, not totally warm, with my buddy Cam Higbie over here. This dude has been out here for like 2 weeks in this freezing stuff dealing with these protesters. They just turned the music off, thank God. Maybe they knew we were broadcasting, but so you've been watching this from day one. that this whole thing is kicked off. What's it been like to watch this grow and their organization?
Well, the organization is like nothing I've ever seen before. I'm from Seattle, and they're highly organized there. They are on every street corner here. They are coordinating and communicating and talking with each other every single day. They're tracking down ICE agents. They're tracking down plates, suspected ICE agents. Actually, I was riding with Carl earlier. He was riding with me. He gets in, and immediately people are taking pictures of us. If you walk down or drive down Southside Minneapolis, they will tail you. I mean, we're just in an F-150, and they tail us.
Well, it was crazy, actually. They were, we stopped just to pick someone up. They were taking pictures of your license plate. You guys had the things over your face. They started calling people, and more people started coming out just around a rental car.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, out-of-state plates in slight tint on your windows. I mean, you'll pick up 3 tails real fast.
Yeah. That's crazy. The organization, though, there are, networks of databases that are starting to catalog people and their faces and their cars and everything like this. Have you gotten to the bottom of who's funding this?
I have not gotten to the bottom of who's funding it, but these people clock in for shifts as observers.
Yeah.
Like, they do it all day. How do you not have do you not have a job? What are you doing out here in this kind of cold? They have foot patrols, they have car patrols, they have stationary cars and vehicles that watch for agents or other people like me and Nick Sorter.
Yeah. I tell you, it is like brutally cold out here. You got protesters playing music. You've got probably 100 or so people standing outside this facility over here, screaming at the air. I mean, these people are morons. They are screaming at absolutely nobody. All the cops are in their cars with the windows up, and they're just standing out there yelling obscenities. We walked over there earlier, which we're going to have some for you tomorrow. But we walked over there earlier, and these guys, most of them don't even make sense.
No, I think one of my favorite parts when we were out there was they said you're a jerk or something. You're a bad person. I said, you know what his name is? No. Well, how do you know he's a jerk then?
Yeah. Well, we went over there, obviously. None of them seem to have any reason. They just don't have a job. They're just getting paid to be here. But, you said you're going to be here. You're self-funding this out of your own pocket to bring all this information. By the way, information that we're using for our shows. Where do people go to help you fund this operation?
Yeah, so if you guys go to my Twitter, I have a link pinned for my security fund. Brandon Tatum's helping me out with that. He launched a nonprofit, so that link is pinned on my Twitter. If you go to my YouTube, all of the places you can donate to me and stuff like that are in the description of any video you click on.
Yeah. So go to his Twitter account, folks, or X, I guess now.
Yeah, X.
You can support him. Every dime he spends is going to making sure that we have the information, and he is like in it. He's going far beyond anybody else. So I'd appreciate if you could help him out, send him some dough. This is going to be fantastic. Our Cam, I appreciate it. I'm going to get back in this van because it's so freaking cold. All right, folks, don't go anywhere. Back in a sec, we're going to be talking to James Comer about the hearing today. It was crazy what Jack Smith thought he could get away with. Stay here.
Hey, I'm Carl Higbie from Newsmax. Look, I'm unapologetically pro-American, and honestly, this is the one place that lets me call it how it is. I'm not holding back. I'll give it to you straight every single night.
One of my most frequently asked questions is, how do you get your teeth so white? And no, it's not the reflection off my white hair. It's Smile Actives. Boom, right there.
Do you have a yo-yo smile? Sometimes yellow, sometimes white. It's a constant battle between everyday stains and whitening treatments. Until now, get Smile Actives, the daily teeth whitening breakthrough that gives you a more youthful smile and helps you keep it.
Smile Actives is easy, and it works. No gloopy trays, no messy strips.
Just add Smile Actives to your favorite toothpaste and watch the magic happen. Our patented Polyclean microfoam lifts away deep stains for a dramatically younger and whiter smile.
You have a choice. You can have those yellow teeth, or you can be full of confidence. I love my white teeth.
Scan, click, or call for your whitest smile yet. And if you order right now, we'll double your whitening free. Get an extra Smile Actives as our free gift to you, but only while supplies last.
And right now, the best part, buy one, get one free.
100% of users saw whiter teeth. Smile Actives lifts away even the toughest stains from coffee, wine, and food, gently restoring your bright, youthful smile. Plus, it's safe for veneers, crowns, and dentures.
I drink coffee every day. Smile Active, it works. Got your boy gleaming.
Clinically shown to brighten your teeth 5 shades whiter in just 7 days.
If you could use something so easy like Smile Actives to take yellow teeth to white teeth, why wouldn't you?
Act now. Get Smile Actives for just $24.95 and we'll double your order free. But hurry, this deal won't last. Smile Actives is guaranteed to work. Whiten your teeth or get your money back. No questions asked. Don't wait. Get Smile Actives for just $24.95 and we'll send you a second bottle absolutely free. That's free shipping, a free extra bottle. That's an incredible 58% savings.
I think we can all agree, no matter what the occasion, when you leave the house, everyone notices your bright white smile.
Scan the code, go to smileactives.com or call to get your beautiful whiter smile now.
Lara Logan here with some news for you. Men's testosterone levels today are roughly half of what they were 50 years ago. And after the age of 30, testosterone drops around 1% every year. Chalk's Male Vitality supplements may be the answer for you. They contain ingredients clinically proven to boost natural testosterone production. Go to chalk.com and use code TV to get a huge discount. Or call or text the number on your screen today.
As a cardiologist, when I put my patients on a statin to reduce cholesterol, I also tell them it can deplete their CoQ10 levels. I recommend taking Cunol CoQ10. Cunol has 3 times better absorption than regular CoQ10. Cunol, the brand I trust.
Our wedding was a blast. However, the feeling of the credit card debt that came after was not very fun.
If you have credit card, personal loan, or medical debt, J.G. Wentworth's Debt Relief Program can help reduce what you owe by up to 45% before fees in as little as 24 months.
Without J.G. Wentworth, we would still be paying off our credit card debt.
If your debt is more than $10,000, you're not alone. Visit jgwentworth.com to learn how we can help you find a path to debt relief.
I'm still warming up from being out there. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. This morning, Trump's DOJ made 3 arrests in connection to the anti-ICE mob that stormed a church service on Sunday. Now, look, arresting Namika Levy Armstrong, who also allegedly played a key role in organizing that entire attack, but also Chantel Lewis Allen, who was charged with conspiracy to deprive rights for her role in that church riot. One of these people was also a school board member. And then you got this guy, William Kelly. Remember him? He told Pam Bondi to come and get him. Roll it.
So, you know, Pam Bondi, you want to come and arrest me? You want to come and give me charges? So be it.
Oblige this man. She did, and is also being charged with conspiracy to deprive rights. Pam Bondi sending out a tweet warning that, listen, loud and clear, we do not tolerate attacks on places of worship. Round them up. Hopefully Don Lemon is next. I know a journalist or a judge recently said they're not going to allow that. But Newsmax legal analyst Jay Town, an attorney at Judicial Watch and author of the fantastic book Defiant, Christina Bobb. All right, Christina, the judge today said that he's not going to allow charges to go against Don Lemon. Is there another option here, or is that ship sailed?
No, there are definitely other options, and I'll leave it to the Department of Justice to, posture and figure out how to bring charges. But it was specifically this complaint that they brought. They said they didn't want to, the judge didn't want to allow these specific charges against Don Lemon. They thought he was there as a journalist, and that they didn't want to violate his First Amendment rights as a journalist. So the Department of Justice just needs to kind of get back together, refigure it out, and bring something else that might be more palatable for the judge. But there's a lot of penal codes out there. There's a lot of sections that they can use, and they just need to figure out which one they want to use.
But Jay, on the same vein, if, look, Don Lemon was in there. He was asked to leave. This is the great thing about being a journalist, is it's on video, everything you do. So he was asked to leave. He didn't leave. There has to be some mechanism here for this.
There is. And one of the things that the Department of Justice could do is just file an information which bypasses the criminal complaint process through a magistrate judge. Now, here's what I will also say. The fact that he is a journalist, a probable cause hearing to determine whether or not somebody has committed a crime is a non-adversarial process. The First Amendment defense that Don Lemon would no doubt put forward, that's a defense. That's part of the adversarial part. That happens after the charges. This judge, this MAG judge, injecting that defense into a probable cause determination is completely inappropriate. So Pam Bondi, Todd Blanche, bypass him and just move to an information. You can move to a grand jury indictment later if you're going to charge the conspiracy against rights. But this was just a FACE Act violation. This was just a misdemeanor. And this magistrate judge got it all wrong. Jack Smith said today that when a person uses the First Amendment to commit a crime, it's not protected. I agree.
Right.
That applies to Don Lemon too.
No. Oh, no, 100%. And we're going to talk to, James Comer about that in about 5-10 minutes. But, Christina, the Minneapolis mayor, Jacob Frey, this guy's all over the place. I can't stand him, especially talking to the people out here on the ground. It doesn't seem like anybody in the city actually likes him except for the Somalis, because everybody I talk to hates him. But he reacted in writing saying this, quote, "This is a gross abuse of power. The federal government is picking and choosing who to investigate, going after protesters and not the person who shot and killed one of our neighbors," and immediately called for, obviously, Armstrong's release. I was thinking if they would just, I don't know, enforce the law themselves, we wouldn't have to be here.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Because what they're doing is they are picking and choosing who the law is enforced against and who gets a free pass. Because clearly there are people out there that are violating law enforcement orders. They are violating the civil rights of other people, impeding places of worship. They need to be held accountable. And when the city and the mayor refuses to do that, it creates this type of tension where they feel entitled. They can continue to violate other people's rights and only their rights matter, and they can disregard law enforcement orders. And it creates this really hostile tension. And it really does lie completely at the hands of the mayor, because ICE is just there doing their job. If the mayor would get out of the way, I think tensions would de-escalate a lot.
Yeah, no, that's crazy. Jay, Democrats running with another fake story about ICE agents. So basically they said that ICE agents detained this 5-year-old, separated from his parents. It was like the worst thing in the world. And they tried to make this as like a justification to attack more ICE agents. But J.D. Vance actually set the record straight on this. Roll it.
The 5-year-old was not arrested, that his dad was an illegal alien, and then when they went to arrest his illegal alien father, the father ran. So the story is that ICE detained a 5-year-old. Well, what are they supposed to do? Are they supposed to let a 5-year-old child freeze to death?
I mean, that's kind of the question, Jay.
And even the vice president was generous in his description there, because really what happened is an illegal immigrant who was being targeted by ICE, abandoned his 5-year-old child, ran away from that child, didn't take the child with him so that he could elude law enforcement. So law enforcement took that kid into custody so that kid could have warmth and probably now a nearest relative. Everything the vice president said was correct. Everything ICE did was correct. Make no mistake, to everybody at home, we separate parents from their children every day in this country, hundreds of thousands of times, and it's going to continue. It's just that we don't always hear about a father abandoning their child to escape from law enforcement.
But by the way, we separate them because of the fault of the parent. I mean, be better parents,
Correct.
and then you won't go to jail, and then your kids won't. I mean, whatever. Christina, remember that
Too much
they
common
said
sense,
that
Carl.
ICE had. I'm sorry, Jay. I know we can't do that anymore. It's not so common. Christina, remember this? There was this report of ICE tear gassing a young child that stopped breathing, apparently, and the parents were just, stuck in a car trying to get away. They raised almost $170,000 reportedly on a variety of different social media platforms and GoFundMe pages. Turns out that actually may not be true at all now.
Oh my gosh. It's hard to know what to believe at this point. I mean, everything seems fake and twisted. So, yeah, I would be very cautious anybody about, giving money to something like that. The other thing that people need to really, really pay attention to is they talk about, these fathers and sons getting separated and family getting separated. And we saw this a lot in President Trump's first administration. Once they started doing rapid DNA testing at the border, it was shown that they weren't necessarily the relatives that they said that they were. And so I just throw the whole caution out there. I'm not making any accusations about, this case, but the whole story, a lot of this is fake. It's not real. And the press is using it to try to twist and manipulate Americans' emotions. And everyone just needs to take a step back and just look at the facts, look at the situation clear-headedly without the emotional twist, because there's a lot of twisting going on in the press.
Oh, believe me, and just being out here talking to people, the amount of twisting is shocking. Jay, Christina, we appreciate it very much.
Thanks, Carl.
All right, coming up, former special counsel Jack Smith, hot seat today after having to answer for his sham investigations into Trump. Couldn't answer basic questions. Congressman James Comer is going to sound off in just a sec.
The poverty is unimaginable. There are people who are struggling.
This is where she washes the dishes.
If you're ever going to allow your Christian faith to rise and to do something for God's chosen people, now is the time.
This is the home of Galena. She's 96 years old.
This is what she had to eat for today.
She has one pot with water and wheat.
My father was killed by the Nazis, and I was an orphan. I didn't know about God. But now, in the cold, hungry nights, I pray for food to the God I've never known. There are good people that love you.
You see the tears. Scripture says joy can come in the morning, and you can be the reason.
If you will bless these hurting children of Israel, you will receive God's blessing in return. Your urgent gift today of $25 will help rush a survival food box filled with life-saving essentials. If you call right now, your gift's impact will be doubled to help save lives. Call, scan, or go online now.
I'm not exaggerating when I tell you, I don't know how much longer she could have waited for us to come.
I can't even grow my food anymore. What will happen to me? I'm doomed to starve.
Tens of thousands of elderly Holocaust survivors in the former Soviet Union are living in extreme poverty, hungry, and forgotten. But through the International Fellowship of Christians and Jews, we can bring them hope.
Eggs. It's my favorite food. May you be blessed.
You say to them, we see you and we're here to help.
If you call right now, your gift's impact will be doubled to help save lives.
Hey guys, Viagra is not your only option. Rove Sparks act fast and stay active longer. They aren't pills. Sparks dissolve under your tongue to reach your bloodstream for speedy results. Connect with a provider at rove.co/sparks.
A new year brings new threats, and Cyberman's ready for every one of them. While hackers plot their next move, Cyberman's already there, protecting families, businesses, and governments before danger can strike. This year, protect what matters most with easy-to-use award-winning protection. With PCmatic, you get American-made protection that's faster, smarter, and stronger. Start 2026 with confidence. Visit PCmatic.com today.
Don't kibble your dog.
Hey, Dr. Marty.
Hey, back.
What's wrong with this?
Let's check it out. It's still kibble, which means they're ultra-processed. At Dr. Marty, we freeze-dried premium meats, fruit, and vegetables, and they're gonna love it.
I made my decisions without regard to President Trump's political association, activities, beliefs, or candidacy in the 2024 election. I stand by my decisions as special counsel, including the decision to bring charges against President Trump.
Yeah, I bet he just lied right there. Disgraced former special counsel Jack Smith testified for the first time publicly on Capitol Hill today, defending this crazy amount of bogus cases and claims against President Trump. House Oversight Committee Chairman James Comer, sir, this today, I was appalled. He wouldn't even answer some of Jim Jordan's questions point blank.
As someone who's watched thousands of congressional testimonies in my life, I've never seen a more important witness who was less prepared to answer basic questions than Jack Smith was today. I think America got to see what we talk about as conservatives when we complain about the Biden Department of Justice being weaponized. There was no basis for what Jack Smith did to Donald Trump or to Republican members of Congress. This was a political stunt that failed badly, and I'm glad the American people got to see it up close and personal today.
Yeah. Well, speaking of Jim Jordan, he absolutely nuked Jack Smith and his star witness. Cassidy Hutchinson's testimony. Roll this.
Did you ever confirm it? That's a simple question.
Well, we interviewed, or I should say attorneys in my office before.
Did you ever confirm the president leaping across the seat, grabbing the steering wheel, this whole concoction she brought up in the January 6th hearing? Did you ever confirm that?
Right. We interviewed another firsthand witness who was in the car who did not confirm that had happened.
So no, basically, sir. I mean, this is the problem. If you went to trial or even in one of these testimonies with a witness as uncredible as Cassidy Hutchinson's claims were, that you could jump through a window in the beast that didn't actually exist and grab something that you couldn't actually reach, the Republican Party would be excoriated for it.
Right. That shows what the whole purpose of this was. It wasn't about winning in court. It was a political ploy where Democrat operatives like Jack Smith colluded with the left-wing media to say, oh, Donald Trump, he was so mad, wanted to be with the rioters and the insurrectionists so bad that he tried to grab the wheel of the limousine and drive there himself. That's preposterous. We always knew it was preposterous, but it was a narrative that the liberals in the media wanted to go along with Jamie Raskins and Adam Schiff and their lies. And I just think it was so good today that the American people got to see up close and personal. There was never any evidence. This was all fabricated and exaggerated, and it was a bad day for Jack Smith, a great day for the Republicans on the Judiciary Committee.
Yeah. Well, maybe next we could put him in some handcuffs. That'd be nice. Texas Congressman Lance Gooden brought a great point up. He's saying the inconsistencies of when Jack Smith took the oath of office. It appears he wasn't sworn in, and Merrick Garland had to swear him in September of 2023. This is after Smith had already handed down all 3 criminal indictments. I mean, slight oversight, no, sir?
Yeah, look, I mean, again, this was never a serious judicial matter. This wasn't about justice. This was about politics. This was a dirty political trick, and that's what the Democrats are known for in this town. That's what the Biden administration legacy will be. That's what Merrick Garland's legacy will be, and that's what Jack Smith's legacy is. And again, he did very poorly today because he had nothing to work with. The truth was not on his side.
Yeah. Here's the other thing, too. Obviously, the bipartisan vote in the House Oversight Committee held Bill and Hillary Clinton in contempt of Congress yesterday. What happens now?
Well, first of all, that's unprecedented to hold a former president of the United States in contempt of Congress. But to have a majority of Democrats on the House Oversight Committee vote with us to hold the Clintons, both Clintons, in contempt of Congress, it's just a great day for accountability. So it passed the House Oversight Committee. Now it goes to the House full floor. So every member of Congress, all 435, will get a chance to vote on it. It will pass the floor, and it will pass with Democrat votes. Then it will be delivered to the Department of Justice. Now, I hope Pam Bondi treats this contempt the same way Merrick Garland treated the contempt of Peter Navarro and Steve Bannon. So there's a precedence for how an attorney general is supposed to treat contempt of Congress resolution. So hopefully we'll see how this plays out, and hopefully we'll see some accountability.
And as Hillary said, no one's above the law. Congressman, we appreciate it, sir.
That's right. Thank you.
All right, you heard the news. President Trump wants Greenland. Looks like he actually may get it. He wants it to be part of the United States. That's big news, and it's making many of our allies not very happy right now. Newsmax, though, we're conducting a poll asking what you think of President Trump's plan. Should America take Greenland? Many in Congress and the media want to know what you think. Go online and vote in this Newsmax poll. Make sure your voice is heard on this important issue. We're going to let you know the results. We got more from Minnesota, folks. Don't go anywhere. Back in a second.
The press won't report the real story.
The American people are actually very smart.
Ridiculous statements.
These guys are just plain weird.
Actual scandals.
Even the immunity decision. I mean, that decision was so misreported.
That's my job, and I aim to do it every night.
All right, look, you built up equity in your home, and now you need some cash.
Deciding which lender to go with can be such a pain. I mean, they have different rates, different rules. So that's where Lingo comes in.
I called them and it only took 2 minutes.
You just answer a few quick questions.
And they told me which options work best based on my info. Simple and fast.
So if you're thinking about tapping into your home equity with a HELOC, just go to Lingo and you'll thank me later.
Call 844-766-REFI today. Lingo, where homeowners go to get cash.
You woke up with a sore throat and a low-grade fever. You know you are getting sick, so here's your choices. You can get sicker and miss work. Try to see a doctor this week or sit hours in a crowded waiting room at urgent care.
I have a smarter option for you. Open your medical emergency kit. Match your symptoms to doctor-recommended prescription in your booklet and take the right meds now and get well faster.
This is not a first aid kit. It's like having an urgent care in your home. It includes doctor-prescribed medications to treat over 39 medical issues like respiratory infections, strep throat, pneumonia, UTIs, and more.
No waiting to see the doctor and no standing in line at the pharmacy. It's right here.
Every home should have at least one medical emergency kit, and here's how to order.
Order online and save $45. Your kit to treat dozens of common and serious illnesses is rushed to your door. Visit urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code NEWS. That's urgentcarekit.com/news, promo code NEWS.
I wanted to have control over drinking instead of alcohol having control over me. I started with Or Health about a year ago. It put the brakes on that I had been looking for. I can drink less and say no, and it's the best feeling in the world.
Text Newsmax to 710-710 to learn more.
If the power goes out in the middle of winter, do you have a way to stay warm? If not, you need the Vesta off-grid space heater from My Patriot Supply. It's compact, safe to use indoors, and best of all, it doesn't need electricity. Right now, you can get a free Vesta and other bonus gifts when you order the Winter Survival Kit from My Patriot Supply. Just go to mypatriotsupply.com to see everything included. That's mypatriotsupply.com.
Hello, I'm Franklin Graham. As we approach this new year, we see a lot of difficulty out there. The violence on the street, the upheaval, and it's not just here, but it's around the world, and it seems like everything's getting ready to implode. Well, I can tell you right now, our world needs peace, and we need God's peace. And God's peace comes through faith in His Son, Jesus Christ. That's right, Jesus Christ. He came from heaven to this earth to take our sins. He died and shed His blood on the cross for our sins. He was buried. On the third day, God raised Him to life. If you have never trusted Him as your Savior, you can do that right now. Just pray this prayer with me. Just say, God, I'm a sinner. I'm sorry. Forgive me. I believe that Jesus Christ is your Son. I'd like to trust Him as my Savior right now, and I want to follow Him as my Lord forever. Amen. If you prayed that prayer, call that number right now that's on the screen. We have some folks that would like to speak with you, pray with you, but call that number on the screen. God bless you.
Muscle cramps were keeping me up at night, so then I tried Slomag, the magnesium plus calcium supplement that helps relax tense muscles so I can rest comfortably. And Slomag tablets have a slow-release formula that's gentle on my stomach. That's why I use Slomag.
All right, we're still here in Minneapolis. I will actually be back in New York tomorrow to bring you all the stuff, but we were going to bring a bunch of protester stuff. We actually went outside and tried to, figure out why these people were here. We wanted to talk to them, get to know what they're thinking. I actually still don't know. There is not one coherent answer that I got out of this entire time while I was out there. But I will say, their commitment to stupid is off the charts to be out in what, like I was just telling my staff, this van is rocking back and forth from the wind. It's, -8 without the wind chill here. Folks, it is a special commitment. Rob, I really wish you could have come out here with me to freeze your tail off, but they said you couldn't make it.
I think that's too cold for my blood. I give you props. So did I hear the wind chill's -40?
-42.
Well, that'll get rid of some protesters at least. That's something else. Well, it's good stuff today.
All right, Rob.
Good to see you, Carl.
Thank you.
All right.